The narrative often suggests the Knights Templar were irrevocably lost, consumed by fire, shattered, and consigned to history beneath layers of ignominy. However, it is prudent to question whether the familiar account, the arrests, the accusations of heresy, the fiery purges, represents merely a superficial understanding. One might consider the possibility of a fraternity so formidable that it transcended the reigns of monarchs and popes, a clandestine organization whose perilous secrets necessitated its disappearance for survival. While some maintain that the order concluded abruptly on Friday, the 13th, others contend that it persisted, operating clandestinely, subtly influencing empires from obscured positions. This discourse aims to present a more profound examination, delving into a concealed history that refused to be extinguished. The Knights Templar initially emerged as guardians for pilgrims, yet their enduring influence extended far beyond the arid landscapes of Jerusalem. They established an intricate network spanning continents, safeguarded ancient mysteries predating the Church itself, and withstood every attempt to eradicate their presence. This exploration will trace their trajectory from the sacred terrain of the Temple Mount to the discreet chambers of modern Europe, where their emblems continue to resonate from ancient stonework. The genesis of their journey, like their very existence, began within a city profoundly shaped by its past, Jerusalem. This revered, fractured, and fiercely contested metropolis, in the winter of 1119, nearly 2 decades after its recapture from Muslim control during the First Crusade, remained a volatile crucible of religious fervor and violent instability. Pilgrims arrived consistently, seeking to walk upon the ground Christ once trod, yet few completed their journey unharmed. Roads were infested with brigands, transforming spiritual pilgrimage into a perilous endeavor. Amidst this turmoil, 9 knights volunteered, not to govern or proselytize, but to offer protection. Initially, their identities were known only to a select few. Hugues de Payard, a French nobleman renowned for his ascetic piety, led this nascent group. They possessed neither significant wealth nor numerical strength. Indeed, they were famously impoverished, earning them the designation the poor fellow, soldiers of Christ, and of the Temple of Solomon. Their attire consisted of plain tunics rather than opulent armor, and their seal notably depicted 2 knights mounted upon a single horse, a poignant symbol not merely of humility, but also of their shared resources and collective commitment. They solemnly committed themselves to the ecclesiastical canons, embracing vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience. Yet, unlike conventional monastic orders, these men were armed, with the battlefields serving as their monastery and their devotions whispered beneath layers of chainmail. Their headquarters were established within the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a structure Christians believed stood atop the venerable ruins of Solomon's Temple. This choice was deliberate. They were not merely guarding a sacred site, but one considered mystical and potentially fraught with profound ancient dangers. Officially, their mandate was the protection of pilgrims. Unofficially, speculation soon circulated. 9 knights in Jerusalem, residing on the Temple Mount, yet for 9 years, they reportedly admitted no new members. The nature of their activities remained largely unknown. There were no extant records, no logs only, an enigmatic silence. For nearly a decade, it was as if they had seamlessly integrated into the very stones of the Temple Mount. When they finally re-emerged, the landscape of their influence dramatically transformed. By 1129, the Templars had transcended their obscure origins as a small band of warrior monks. At the Council of Troyes, they received formal recognition from the Church. Bernard of Clairvaux, a highly influential abbot and later saint, composed an effusive treatise praising them, hailing them as a new knighthood. In an epoch where soldiers frequently engaged in sin and clergy often indulged in luxury, the Templars presented a distinct paradox: devout killers who submitted solely to divine authority. The Church's approval led to a deluge of donations. Nobles bestowed land, peasants offered their sons, and kings granted them immense power. Within a single generation, They were no longer impoverished, but had become an indomitable force. However, the events of those 9 years of silence remain profoundly mysterious. What precisely did they unearth beneath the Temple Mount? This is where the historical narrative diverges from verifiable documents and enters the realm of speculation. Subsequent claims, often dismissed as fantastical, recount excavations, discovered scrolls, and hidden vaults. The notion that the Templars encountered something ancient and volatile has fueled centuries of conjecture. While definitive evidence is lacking, certain details persistently resist easy dismissal. One account, embedded in the writings of a 19th century antiquarian, refers to a chamber purportedly discovered beneath Al-Aqsa, adorned with peculiar markings, Hebrew characters, alongside older, unfamiliar glyphs, unknown to Crusader scholars. Another narrative, preserved in the annals of a German monk decades later, describes Templar knights silently removing sacred objects under the cloak of night, their destination unknown. Here, legend and historical reality intertwine, much like incense swirling in cathedral light. Some theories suggest the Templars uncovered relics, perhaps originating from the First Temple. Others propose they discovered ancient knowledge pre-Christian texts, blueprints of immense power, or esoteric wisdom suppressed by the early church. Even the Ark of the Covenant has been interwoven into these theories. Again, concrete proof remains elusive. However, the true significance lies not merely in what they might have found, but in their subsequent conduct, their unwavering certainty, their resolute purpose, as if they had witnessed something inherently worth safeguarding at any cost. Historians frequently debate the plausibility of such assertions. Were the Templars merely pious warriors who fortuitously ascended at an opportune moment? Or was their precipitous elevation from an obscure group of 9 individuals to the most formidable order in Christendom, catalyzed by a more deliberate, strategic discovery? Some scholars posit that their presence on the Temple Mount was simply a matter of convenience, a grant from King Baldwin II. Yet, others quietly question why no other group throughout Jerusalem's extensive history had utilized that specific space in the same manner. Why, if nothing significant resided there, did they remain so long without recruiting, expanding, or openly communicating? The enigma deepens upon examining the Templars' internal structure. Most monastic orders maintained transparent hierarchies and regulations. The Templars, conversely, operated on multiple strata. The Grand Master held public authority, but beneath him, layers of secrecy emerged. Specific knowledge was transmitted orally, initiation rites were veiled in ritual, and records, when maintained, were often encoded or destroyed after use. It appears they swiftly understood that survival necessitated obscurity, and that power was most effectively wielded from behind a shroud. There is also the intriguing matter of their immediate connections with other esoteric groups. While Freemasonry would not formally emerge for centuries, parallels in symbolism, philosophical tenets, and initiation oaths are striking. The use of geometric symbolism, the profound reverence for Solomon's temple, and the emphasis on concealed truths transmitted through chosen lineages all resonate along a historical continuum, originating in 1119. Nevertheless, to maintain a historical anchor, one fact remains undisputed. The Templars were founded in Jerusalem and rapidly became an unprecedented force in the medieval world. This much is clear. Yet, around this core fact, an ever-expanding cloud of obscure details, unresolved questions, and scholarly contention spirals. Why did the Church embrace them so unequivocally? Why were they granted privileges typically reserved for bishops and monarchs? And why did they, even then, act as if they were already protecting something that transcended royal authority? Perhaps the most compelling explanation lies not in documents or artifacts, but in the extensive network the Templars subsequently constructed. Within 2 generations, they possessed commanderies in every corner of Europe, functioning not merely as fortresses, but as sophisticated data hubs of the medieval era. They facilitated the movement of gold, letters of credit, and confidential information, all originating from those initial 9 nights, a holy city, and the profound silence of buried stone. As one contemplates the ancient dust of Jerusalem's past, one begins to discern a distinct pulse of something unfulfilled, a sense that this was never solely a brotherhood of warriors. It was an intricate mechanism, a conduit, and whatever they discovered beneath that temple, they carried it with them into the historical blind spots. Returning to that sun-drenched plateau, the Temple Mount, where silence often conceals the shimmer of history, one recalls the 9 years the early Templars designated it as their abode. Yet, they did not merely reside upon the ancient foundations. They burrowed, excavated, and descended. It is here, within the very dust associated with Solomon's temple, that the initial, profound riddle begins to unfold. According to all official accounts, the Templars occupied the Al-Aqsa Mosque through the munificence of King Baldwin II. However, few medieval chroniclers appeared curious as to why the king would entrust such a prized religious complex to merely 9 obscure knights. There were no grand battalions of soldiers, no parade of noble benefactors, just 9 men moving beneath Jerusalem like wraiths. It is as if their mission specifically demanded stillness, time, and absolute privacy. Later excavations, both modern and those conducted unofficially, have uncovered traces of their activities. Beneath the mosque, near the southern wall, an intricate network of tunnels and chambers exists, some hewn deep into the bedrock. Archaeologists approach their assessments with caution, carefully navigating the geopolitical sensitivities inherent to Jerusalem. Nevertheless, whispers have persisted since the 19th century, when British explorers Charles Wilson and Charles Warren descended into the substructures. They reportedly found not only cisterns and foundational elements, but also spaces that appeared altered, touched, not by ancient masons, but by deliberate hands from a considerably later period. One chamber, famously dubbed the Well of Souls, lies beneath the Dome of the Rock. While long associated with mystical lore from Islamic traditions, such as the Prophet Muhammad's ascension and Christian visions of divine judgment, certain fringe researchers propose that it was reaccessed by the Templars, who may have utilized or even expanded such areas. This theory initially appears fanciful, until one examines the peculiar stone etchings reported by 19th century visitors, geometric symbols, and partially erased lines that bear a resemblance to both early Hebrew and Proto-Latin markings. Their authenticity remains a subject of debate, but their existence, their documented description, and their alignment with known Templar symbolism form a tantalizing web of possibilities. A more pragmatic theory suggests that the Templars were not primarily seeking spiritual relics, but ancient documents. Jerusalem had historically been a crucible of empires. The first temple, constructed by Solomon, was said to house unimaginable treasures, encompassing not merely gold and precious metals, but also scrolls, writings, maps, and intricate instructions. When the Babylonians sacked it in 586 BCE, many such texts vanished. Some were destroyed, others, according to Jewish tradition, were concealed by priests in secret compartments beneath the sanctuary. Centuries later, the Second Temple arose, yet its foundations were never entirely new. What was interred largely remained interred. Therefore, it is conceivable that the Templars, armed with both biblical reverence and whispered knowledge, possibly transmitted through Eastern Christian monks, initiated their own quest, not for the Holy Grail, not yet, but for something far more ancient, the architectural blueprints of belief, texts predating even the Roman Empire. Obscure Templar inventories, discovered in later commanderies across Europe, occasionally list items that appear anachronistic. One refers to scrolls in copper bindings. Another, translated from Old French, mentions maps of divine patterning. While these could be forgeries or romanticized later editions, even fabricated entries often possess indicative characteristics. Someone imagined them for a reason. the Church's official stance on these matters was invariably cautious. Publicly, the Vatican dismissed such notions as heretical fantasy. Yet, curiously, even centuries later, significant restrictions have been placed on archaeological activity beneath the Temple Mount. The stated reasons involve political interfaith sensitivity or safety concerns. Nevertheless, one might ponder why excavation is prohibited in a space where history ardently demands exploration. One compelling theory postulates that the Templars may have recovered ancient cosmological diagrams, star maps, or sacred geometry charts, illustrating the movements of constellations in relation to temple placements across the ancient world. These ideas, though unprovable, are echoed in their subsequent architectural endeavors in Europe. Templar churches, such as the renowned Round Church in London, or those in Tomar and Segovia, frequently incorporate celestial alignments. While perfect congruence is not always achieved, the underlying intention, the concept, persists. There is also the persistent matter of the Ark of the Covenant, that great biblical container lost to history, which has shadowed numerous theories linked to the Templars. While mainstream historians generally reject such suggestions, a few point to ancient Ethiopian traditions that locate the Ark in Axum, guarded by a priesthood whose symbols bear an uncanny resemblance to Templar crosses. This could be mere coincidence. However, one account, orally transmitted within a remote Ethiopian monastery, describes white warriors from the north who arrived not to plunder but to bear witness. This vague description dates to the mid-12th century, precisely when the Templars were most active. Perhaps the most enigmatic whisper of all is this: the 9 knights who eventually returned to Europe were fundamentally altered. They no longer comported themselves as minor nobles. Their requests to the church were bold and highly specific. Their organization emerged fully structured, as if already matured. It is as though they possessed foreknowledge of what they were constructing, as if they had discovered something that provided them with a blueprint, a profound purpose, or even a prophecy. What precisely did they retrieve from beneath the Temple Mount? No surviving manifests, no confirmed relics, and no papal admissions exist. Yet, the transformation that followed speaks more profoundly than any parchment. A humble fraternity of men became the custodians of Europe's wealth. Kings deferred to them. The church tolerated their independence, and beneath their distinctive seal, the Twin Riders, another message may have been encoded: duality, embodying body and spirit, earth and heaven, soldier and sage. The very foundations of Solomon's temple may have imparted this lesson, that true power resided not in the sword, but in the narrative underpinning it. That hidden knowledge, once glimpsed, compelled an allegiance stronger than any earthly law. Nevertheless, many questions remain unresolved. Were the tunnels beneath Jerusalem genuinely carved by Templar hands, or were they merely adapted from older infrastructure? Are the symbols found there authentic, or are they wishful projections of modern mythmakers? Was there ever truly a discovery, or merely the illusion of one fostered to galvanize a movement? These debates quietly simmer in the dusty corners of academia, where evidence must yield to rigorous peer review. However, in the hushed, candle-lit ambience of this narrative, a different perspective emerges, a pattern, a silence too structured to be accidental. The Templars were not aimless custodians. They were meticulous curators of knowledge that we may never fully comprehend. But it all commenced beneath those ancient stones, where the temple once stood and perhaps still subtly communicates its secrets. One discovers the order's most significant secret, not on a battlefield or within a courtroom, but through the meticulous arithmetic of their ledgers. The poor knights were, by indisputable historical fact, both moneylenders and custodians of assets, long before the emergence of modern banking institutions. Nobles entrusted them with precious jewels, merchants deposited currency in their vaults, and pilgrims handed over their savings for safekeeping while traversing perilous routes. This is not mere conjecture, it is verifiable financial history. Surviving charters and account books unequivocally demonstrate the order's function as an international fiscal network. predating the modern concept of banking. Their financial role began pragmatically. A knight journeying from France to Jerusalem might prudently avoid transporting gold across bandit-infested passes. Consequently, the order's commanderies could accept deposits and issue letters of credit, a medieval precursor to contemporary travelers' checks. This practice proliferated with quiet efficacy. Commanderies evolved beyond military barracks. They operated as treasuries, exchange points, and administrative centers. One can envision a fortress whose stonework concealed not only armaments and standards, but also columns of figures and names that delineated financial dependencies across continents. Funds traversed these channels with a discretion that would astound modern auditors. Herein lies a controversial interpretation that continues to provoke academic debate. The Order's financial network was not merely a convenience. It may have provided them with strategic leverage in negotiations with monarchs and even the papacy. When a sovereign required troops, funding was imperative. When Rome launched a crusade, coin and credit were indispensable. The Templars possessed the unique capacity to extend credit, transfer assets across national borders, and provide guarantees